Welcome back to the Automotive Market Minute, in which may or may not take just over a minute. My name's Steven Georgella.
My name is Phil Tripotowski.
And I'm James Sivko.
It feels as if every month is an action-packed Automotive Market Minute, and that's because it is. August was an absolute heater, but for some dealers, massive causes for concern. We're going to talk about them, and we're going to talk about the consumer and what the hell is happening as we close out selling season. It's no doom and gloom. We're going to give you some action steps to make sure that your dealership not only stays above water, but excels going into Q4 2025. We'll talk about national performance, incentives update. We're getting more support from the factories. Phil's going to cover that. Consumer confidence, labor market balance, and these lengthening car loans and the concerns that not only we have, your dealership should have, but the consumer should definitely be keeping an eye out on. Let's look at that national performance here. If you enjoyed this video, hit subscribe. It's free, and we want to make more videos that you love for people just like you. Thanks for the support. All right, the first time in Fountain Forward history, 3 digits, 103 dealers. I would like to give a shout out to every one of our 103 dealers. I'd like to give a special shout out to our Director of Client Relations, Phil, Mr. Sivko, for joining the team here over the last couple of years, and of course, the entire Fountain Forward family for all their hard work. We've been putting a lot of systems in place to be able to support our next level of growth, and being able to be in the spot, seeing 3 digits on here was definitely a special moment. With that said, let's talk about August. You'll see that the numbers in general are not crazy up from last year, but we saw a lot of profits last month, and we saw that the dealerships that did well did really well. Record profits, record sales, record gross from more than a couple of handfuls of dealers. But we're also hearing dealers that are a little bit concerned about what's going on. We're hearing from Chevrolet, hey, there's not that much inventory coming in, especially the vehicles that are selling. We're hearing that the Stellantis dealers that are hurting, they're really hurting. Have dealers that, hey, we didn't even sell a single new unit last month. But in general, we had a big heater in the month of August.
Looking at national sales across the entire U.S., we can see that August was in fact a heater. You can see new sales on the left-hand side here started to peak up as we saw some of that improved factory support. More on that coming in just a second. Year to date, sales are up 5% against 2024 for new. On the used retail side, sales are up 4% year to date against 2024. The used retail market continues to stay on fire, and you can see how this year, 2025, is comparing to 24, 23, and 2022, one of the best Augusts that we have seen in the last number of years.
Filski, I see that the used retail sales on a heater here, but Mr. James Sivko has been saying this for maybe years. You know, there's not enough people trading in those 2-3-year-old vehicles. We know they're holding on to them longer. If you don't mind, can you show me the next slide and show me the cause for concern as it pertains to market day supply?
Here's what day supply looks like from a new and used side of things. New coming in at 77.3 days. That is down 12% against this time last year. This is also, as we'll see in the next slide, I think why we saw a little bit of less factory support. You are seeing supply tighten a little bit on the new side. Used day supply continues to be extremely tight, especially in comparison to the last 3 years. Used day supply came in at 42.3 days, down 5.4% against last year.
Quick question there. And again, James, I realize I've been watching some of the previous market minutes, and I feel like they're going to start calling me Speculative Stevie because I'm out here just throwing shit and seeing what sticks. My question to you is, we're going to talk about these loans and how long they're stretching. You're going to talk about that. We'll talk about interest rates, and maybe we'll get this 25 BIP cut a couple times going to the end of the year. So just throw this out there. You have less used vehicles to be purchased. Now you have really expensive new vehicles. Not that many of them, and maybe going to be factory support, maybe not. So less supply. There's not a whole ton of new vehicles coming in for certain brands. You have incentives. We don't really know what's going to happen. We hope that the Fed's going to give more support. Don't used vehicle prices have to go up. And if we know that used interest rates are super duper high, That means you have to stretch these loans out even farther.
Don't walk, run through your used car lot and raise the prices on everything right now.
Order in the court. Order in the court.
Incentives, they were the worst that they have been in the last 3 years, starting in April. This was amidst all the tariff uncertainty. Then in July, we saw manufacturer support grow to the highest level that we have seen in the last 3 years. That has pulled back slightly in August. And again, that is likely due to how the new inventory, new supply has started to shrink a little bit. That being said, with supply tight, we are still seeing manufacturer support at nearly a 3 year high. And you can see just how powerful that's been in spurring demand on the new car side. Now, James, we put together a new graph here. What are we looking at?
This is light vehicle incentives provided by the factories as a percentage of the total transaction price. Back in the good old days, in the 2010s, this would bounce around between 10 and 12% a lot. COVID created a collapse where the factories were not able to provide incentives. And frankly, consumers just bought anything that rolled forward and backwards. There was not really a need for this. We all felt over the last couple of operating years here that factory incentives have been relatively light, and it's been a slow and a difficult, uh, round trip here. And right now, factories are providing about 75% as much as they were back in the good old days. And this chart rhymes with yours. This is the total picture. It's everything from rebates to customer cash to special pricing to options and that kind of stuff. So this is total incentives, and it crosses both F&I and then pricing as well.
One important thing to highlight here as we are talking about incentives, the end of this month, the EV incentive is going away.
Burn the EVs.
This is just a reminder. We think that the fourth quarter and the month of September is going to still be pretty good. We're still going to nationally be on a 16 million unit rate. This is just a reminder that the selling season door kind of closed here at the end of this month, and the next 4 months through the end of the year are a little weak. This is just the last 10 years of monthly seasonal trend. And it's just a reminder that if you're a 100 car store per month, that you should be happy with 95 cars a month as we make our way through and into the holidays.
I think what's important here is, and not be surprised. It's a really great takeaway here. What it's supposed to be is, guys, we have to bolster our list of leads that came in from this summer. We become more order takers during the summertime because there's so much action at the store. Now we have to go hunt more than we did previously. That's how we fine tune. That's how we sharpen the pencil, if you will. I feel like this is just that opportunity because tough times breed really strong people.
This will be our little secret. We're not going to tell the sales force that they're not going to get to the numbers that they were just getting to 2 months ago. And it may be a mystery to them why you're not yelling at them as much. This should just be our expectations as we're running the business over the next 4 months.
There's dealers that have a lot better understanding as to what move they need to make going forward or what move they need to make next. And so they might be an 80 unit guy that now has a better media mix model, better merchandising, better attribution, better salespeople training, et cetera. So they may go from 80 units to 100 units. That's not to say that they can't, but in general or across the board, this is what's going to happen. And it's best that the store taking action based on the information available.
The orange line here, this is consumer confidence. If we look at this as we have a few times in the market minute over the last 50 years, this is a relatively weak reading, 60. It's definitely in the bottom decile of readings. So things are tough out there. The consumer is having a difficult time keeping up with inflation and keeping up with the cost of living in general. It's showing up much more over in the housing side of the market, but we can use consumer confidence surveys to see what sales patterns look like and does the consumer confidence backdrop support auto sales. And right now, luckily, we've had now 4 months in a row of kind of improving numbers. We were a little concerned as we started out the first 4 months of the year. We did not have great numbers. July, where we had a 16.4 million unit sales, was pretty great. 16.4 million units is a top decile performance in the car business over the last 10 years or so. So we are having pretty good unit sales despite a consumer that is unhappy with their financial situation. It does seem like they have to buy cars. And luckily, we've now had 4 months in a row of kind of improving consumer sentiment. So we should have a couple of more decent months. And taken all together, 2025 will be looked back on as a pretty good year in the car business, where we sell more than 16 million units nationwide. We have had a lot of jobs news here in the last week before our filming of the Market Minute here in the first week of September. And one of the more interesting tidbits that have caused some pundits to just throw their hands up and say, it's over, is that the number of unemployed, that's the blue line here, has finally gotten above this post-COVID boom in job openings. If you take a look at the relationship between these two data series, dating all the way back to 2000, usually there are a lot more unemployed people chasing fewer jobs. This is still a pretty tight and a pretty good job market. And if we look at more high frequency data on the next chart, this is the 4-week average of weekly jobless claims going back to 1967. That's a pretty strong job market. Those are employers that are hanging on to their official employees who are on payrolls and not letting them go. So a decent labor market, a consumer that can still chug along, and despite the fact that they don't like their cost of living situation, are still out there employed and have paychecks and can use those paychecks to buy trucks.
A lot of business needs a lot of employees. There's plenty of employees out there. Those employees want to have lives. They are going to have to keep working to be able to live the life that they currently have. They're really not getting ahead, and that's the biggest concern. But they do need to keep working. And if they do keep working, and we're going to talk about the big red flag here in slide 14, they can afford the things they want. But in general, the reason why things are kind of chugging along, and I love that choice of word because it's not roaring. Let's not call this roaring by any means. The rich are getting really rich. But if you're lower middle income and below, you're not getting ahead right now. But in general, to use your choice of words, and again, saying this in layman's terms, it's chugging along because like there's a bunch of things that just kind of have to happen. And so they're going to just keep happening, at least for now.
It's like when rain comes down in the middle of a football game. You know, you have to change the game plan a little bit and it won't be as exciting and the ball will be on the ground more, but it's still a football game and the clock's still ticking and you still have to play.
Wow.
James, how does the outlook look around interest rate expectations moving forward now, given some of this balance that the labor market is trying to find?
This chart, we go back to it a lot. It is just almost monthly reminder that the interest rate predictions market is, despite the trillions of dollars wagered on it, is often wrong. That's these light whiskers that come off. By the way, the whiskers should point up for a few technical reasons, but that market is now predicting 2 cuts, a cut here coming up at the September meeting and a cut at the end of the year in December. Usually when we make those cuts, car loan rates go down with it. Remember, we are watching 3, 5, and 7-year paper because that's where our consumers borrow, is in 3, 5, and 7 years. Sometimes, and certainly the last time when we cut right before the election for mysterious reasons, the 3, 5, and 7-year paper, the interest rates actually went up on that. They didn't come down. With more time for the market to digest this, to look at this, to see this as a predicted interest rate cut, hopefully 3, 5, and 7-year paper will follow this down, and we will be dealing with 50 basis point cheaper car loans by January.
Who's buying 7-year loans?
It's amazing. We know that they're out there. We've been seeing 7-year loans. You may wonder, how big are these longer loans as a part of the car market? Well, in the last 20 years, the 7-year loans have grown from nothing to 20%. And the 72-month loans that are out there are pretty steady at 35%. So we're now dealing with 57% longer loans, greater than 5 years. And by the time you add 5 years, it's 77%. So this is an opportunity for the F&I staff to show what they can do. When you've got someone financing a car for 6 or 7 years, it is time to sell them an extended warranty. So book the profits on the 6 or 7-year loan product. That's a profitable one. And then have them jump on an extended warranty and just remind the consumers that it would be unpleasant to be upside down in something, 5 years from now.
one more note to the consumer, just keep in mind, if you have a $60,000 truck and you're trading it in, you're in negative equity, but you have a really good job, so you can afford going and getting the $80,000 one, rolling in negative equity, but throwing an extra $10,000 down on it, but you're still in negative equity. So you decide to go to 84 months because, again, you have enough income to be able to afford the vehicle. Just because you can doesn't mean it's a good decision. So I just want you to keep that in mind, because in 2 years, when it really gets bad or you lose your job, etc., you're going to sit there and you're going to wonder, should this truck have even been considered? But anywho, I still want to sell tons of vehicles. I just want to sell as many as possible to individuals that are at least reasonably in a good position to purchase them. Just to be very clear, I want to sell a lot of them, but let's just not mortgage the future and get us into a terrible situation. Let's try to keep this thing chugging along. So we continue to be on a heater. We're coming to these slowing months. At that same time, are we going to see the Fed cut rates possibly twice? If they do cut rates, do we look at these slower months and maybe mitigate some of these slowdowns? Do we then see factory support even higher than it's been? And we've seen some of the biggest factory support over the last 5 years. Do we have this interesting fall coming? 16 million units is what Mr. James Sivko is calling for. And do the big conglomerates, are their guesses better than those here at the Automotive Market Minute? I question if that is in fact the case. And on behalf of my esteemed colleagues, James Sivko and Mr. Phil Tributowski, my name is Stephen Georgella. Is there going to be a slowdown in September? I don't think so. I think we're going to come into the month of October talking about September, and we're going to say, wow, this resilient consumer is chugging along. See you next month.